I'm losing count. Oh my goodness. I'm constantly going to the grocery store. And it's not just the 8 babies, it's the other kids eat like horses. We're going through 4 gallons of milk almost every day.
The children consume $1,000 worth of food each week, and that's not all.
Excuse the mess, it's a mess. But it's a storage closet, so we have all the car seats there. There's a lot of diapers in here.
The babies get through 80 nappies a day, and with 3 of the other children still in them, the household disposes of 700 a week.
Okay. This is the itty-bitty minuscule laundry room. There's at least 8 loads a day. It's not even something, we think about. It's just something you just do. Keep coming in here like an assembly line.
But the biggest expense is hired help. Nadya fell out with her mum when she was critical of the decision to have the octuplets. And without her mother's support, Nadya has to rely on 3 paid helpers and an army of volunteers. Staff costs are over $10,000 a month.
The man who made that film, Luke Campbell, is here. Hello, Luke.
Hi.
What did you make of Nadya Suleman?
Well, I have to say I think my opinion changed. Initially, before I met her, I'd been exposed to her on sort of various online clips and quite sensational coverage here and there. And I wasn't sure if I was going to like her, and I was a bit concerned about that. And after actually meeting her and coming face to face with her, my opinion changed instantly, actually. And then over the course of spending time with her and observing mothering on that scale, I have mixed feelings about her at the end of the day, I think. But overall, I recognise that she's a woman doing her best in the situation in which she's found herself.
In the situation, well, not found herself, put herself into, though, really.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, she is an extraordinary hate figure. I mean, people really are vicious about her in America.
Yeah, it's actually, really quite shocking. I've never experienced hatred on that scale. Even to the extent where we were there were, paparazzi were coming out. I mean, obviously, because we'd started filming, there was another reason to start taking yet more photos. And that she's never really left alone by paps, and people drive past her cul-de-sac and scream out of the car. There's been windows broken in the street of her car, and people spraying OctoMom on the wall with an arrow pointing up to her house and stuff. And all the kids are just coming out every day and having to kind of be exposed to all this. It's quite horrible.
And yet, part of the way she funds her family lifestyle is by inviting photographers into the house to take pictures of her and all her children.
That's
it's
right.
a difficult balance, isn't it? I mean, she funds everything herself. Does she get anything from the state?
She doesn't. I mean, I don't know, prior to the octuplets, things may have been different for her, but as soon as the octuplets were born, that newfound fame, notoriety, suddenly kind of catapulted her into this kind of media world, and she became obviously, a big media asset. And that income that's generating is now, as far as I know, running all of her expenses.
Because $10,000 a month just for childcare, that takes an awful lot of money.
Yeah. No, her outgoings are phenomenal. And, she says herself, what could I do? Could I go and get a regular job? She'd be out of the house 8 hours a day, and she couldn't possibly earn what she earns from media. So, she has an exclusive contract with a photo agency, and those photos, like that one, they're selling all around the world all the time. Yeah. So she is a catch-22, because the children find it a little bit distressing at times, for sure. Camera crews coming in the house. There was one point when we were there with our guys, and then the New York Times turned up with a photo crew, and there were like 12 people in the house trying to sort of be inconspicuous and film life as it happens. And it's, I mean, one of the things she has been diligent enough to do is to agree to limiting the access. So, she's agreed to an ongoing documentary process, but with only 12 days access a year. So there is a sort of sense of a mother with concerns for how this process is going to affect the children. Having said that, she is still, I think, incredibly naive in the midst of it.
And it's, let's face it, it is chaos. That house is chaos. We're going to have a quick look at feeding time for the babies.
Sometimes I still feel like maybe God is testing me, playing a practical joke on me, like, okay, you wanted a large family, here, I'm going to give you not 1, 2, or 3, I'm going to give you 8. See how you deal. So see how you can cope. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Out came the sun and dried him all the rain.
She says there that God gave her 8 babies, but actually a doctor implanted 6 embryos.
That's right.
Which would be illegal here, and under US regulations,
Well,
you can't do it either.
No, that's right. It's only guidelines in the US, and the doctor, there is a body that issue those guidelines, and that doctor has now been expelled by that body.
Right, so there were 6 embryos and 2 split to create twins.
That's
so,
right, yeah.
Which gave her the
She
age.
had 6 children already, one of whom is autistic. Now, that's already more than most people could possibly deal with. You just sort of think, what possessed her even to want one more child?
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, she puts it down to being an only child, craving a larger family. I think she lived quite an isolated childhood, but it doesn't really add up to. But I think she had 6 children, fair enough. She only set out, in fact, to have 1 more. She had some frozen embryos, and they were in storage, and it was kind of put to her that, you know, she needed to carry on paying the storage fees or dispose of them. And, you know, her issue, I think, was that their potential lives, as she saw it. And you know, she chose to have them implanted. And in fact, she had I think 17 embryos left, and twice the doctor put in 5. They all failed, and then the last time he put in the final 6, and they all took, and 2 split to twins. So, you know, it's an extraordinary sort of miracle or oddity. You know, the odds of it happening are quite off the scale.
What's interesting as well is how, as a mother, you can bond with all those children, all 14 children. We've got a clip here to see how she does it.
Now I know my too strong. Sorry, ABC.
Each pair gets 10 minutes quality time with Mum. Do you think it's fair on the kids in terms of bonds and mothering?
Nothing's fair. This life is not perfect, and all we can do is our best. And the mothers that bond within the first day of their newborn, you know, being with them, I admire, because it takes me a while to bond with kids, especially if there's so many. And I found myself bonding more with like 3 or 4 than the others. It's so hard. I mean, how can you possibly bond equally among that many babies?
See,
It's just, when she was saying, I find myself bonding with 3 or 4 more than the others, and he just puts it into some kind of context.
I spent my whole time watching film wondering how are they going to survive in the long term? Because in a sense, this is the easy part. And when they get older and they get into the terrible 2s, and you've still got the others who are way older, it's going to be mayhem.
Yeah.
But also dangerous mayhem.
Yeah, I must say, I mean, that's where I did have some reservations about the parenting that she can you know, meet. I mean, obviously all children have needs for parenting, and she means well, but I don't think that in the future she's going to be able to really provide, you know, the necessary level of monitoring and mothering.
And they all have the same father through
IVF. It's the same guy for them all, and that's a sort of
and it's a secret as to who he is.
strange situation as well. Yeah, she's keeping that information to herself. She says she's going to tell the oldest when he's 18, but as I pointed out to her, then he'll tell all the rest. So why don't you just tell them all now? There's a few conundrums with Nadya, and it's a pretty crazy situation.
It is, isn't it? All right, well, it's a very interesting documentary,
It certainly
Luke.
is.
Thanks.
Really is. Thanks very much for coming to talk to us about it.